everybody. Welcome to Amateur Cast, where we act like we know what we're talking about. My name is Sebastian Limon. I make YouTube videos, and I am also a convicted felon. And I have two of close friends of mine with me. I have Kolby Leepies.
Hi, everybody.
And I have Alex Papke.
Hello, everybody.
And you guys, we made our first episode. And I'm proud.
Woo!
I'm so proud.
We did it.
It wasn't perfect, but you know what? We did it. We said, screw it with this virus, and we made it. We made it happen. That's all that matters.
We tried.
Yeah.
We put love and effort into it. We put blood, sweat, and tears into it.
All the liquids.
Yeah.
All the liquids.
Various body
all
fluids.
All the bodily fluids we put into this.
Anyways.
Ew.
Yes. No, but I'm proud that we did it. To all the three people that listened, my mom, Kolby's mom, and Alex's mom. Let's hope
Thanks,
more moms
moms.
listen in the future.
Love you, Mom.
Thanks,
Shout out
Mom.
to you.
And but yeah, thank you guys for those who actually listened to the first one. I pray we're able to gain more people in the future, and I'm looking forward to the discussion we have today. But before, how you guys doing? You guys good?
I'm tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, quarantine sucks, but we're making
you,
the most of it.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
That's it? Okay.
How have you been, Seb?
I've been good, thank you. Just trying to
What have you been doing?
well, I've homework and trying to write, do my own thing, trying to make another short that's different from the other two somehow. I don't know how, but I'll figure it out. Besides that, yeah, doing good.
Ooh.
Nice. Alex, are you working on any film projects or writing or anything?
Oh, yeah.
I'm supposed to be working on a film project for my class, but
No.
it's not really working out.
Oh,
So
that's too
I'll
bad.
keep you guys updated on that.
Do I cut that part out or?
No, it's fine.
Okay, cool.
It's fine.
Okay.
What have you been doing, Kolby?
I am not working on any short film projects, but I am working on a screenplay that I have been working on for so many months. It's been almost a year now.
Oh, wow.
And I'm finally starting the second draft, which I told myself I'm going to finish this week,
Yeah.
and I have not done that. Not even close. But I am pretty proud of it. It's coming along good, and I'll if you guys want to read it, I'll send it to you too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
When it's done.
Yes, I'd love to.
There is this great quote from Midnight in Paris, though. It's like, do not let other writers read your work. Because if they love it, they'll hate it. And if they hate it, they'll hate it. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to hate it either way. I mean, I'm kidding. Like, totally, I'm gonna
So I'm no longer sending it to Sebastian, but
saying,
Alex, if you want...
Great lines in that movie.
I will receive
I'm just kidding. No, that's a good line, though.
I'm going to hate it.
I'm just saying it already sucks.
Sebastian's
Don't
gonna
even
text
try.
me like, it's really good, I'm no longer your friend, and you're kicked off the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Our prediction that this one's only gonna last 3 episodes might come true.
Oh, no.
It might be our goodbye
Your
episode
goodbye
next time.
episode. Goodbye, Michael.
It's all... I love trilogies.
Hey, yeah, 3. That's the best one. Oh, my gosh.
Well, then they'll do a big reboot in 20 years with, like, some hot new actors and a bunch of CGI. It'll be fine.
Oh, yeah.
That's how
They'll
trilogies
recreate us with computer and everything. It'll be great. Oh, yeah.
It'll be called Amateur Cast World.
Amateur World.
Sebastian Awakens.
Amateur World. The Lamone
Amateur
Awakens.
world.
Amateur World.
In IMAX 3D. And it's gonna flop.
Oh, man.
Produced by Kevin Feige.
Just like Onward. Just kidding.
Ooh.
Just like Onward. Segway! Whoa!
Whoa.
So after that
I'm just
magnificent and very correlated segue, today we wanted to talk about Pixar movies in honor of Onward coming out on VOD, which is kind of historic. It's the first Pixar film and one of the first ever films to come out on home release during what was supposed to be its theatrical window because of this whole virus shenanigan. So that was the understatement of the year. Calling the pandemic a shenanigan.
The first one was Trolls, wasn't it?
The first one, I believe, was Trolls 2. Like, the first one to come out of this pandemic, yeah.
So I guess you can say Trolls World Tour is a historic film. For some reason.
Yeah, this is true. The historic films are always the weird ones. Like, Angry Birds 2 is the highest rated video game movie of all time. Angry Birds 2.
Not Sonic, not the first one.
No.
Angry Birds 2.
So, we wanted to talk about Onward. What did you guys think of Onward?
It was bad. Yeah.
All right, great discussion. Everybody go home.
Yeah, all right, that's it. Bye. Enjoy.
Very nuanced.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it. It's an original idea by Pixar, which they... to me, their sequels are pretty weak. Especially a lot of their movies recently have been pretty weak, especially now that we had rewatched their earlier movies and just like the great pacing and the great storytelling and the great just how mature they kind of were, but still well enough for kids. This was totally different in every way. The pacing was just awful. There was no investment personally with any of the characters. I really didn't care for their adventure. I don't even remember their names, to be honest. Like, none of them were pretty memorable. It had a good ending, I guess. Like, the ending, I thought, okay, that's a cute idea. But in theory, really, like, in execution, it really was pretty... it was just wasted potential, I think. And especially, I was also thinking this in the movie. The world that they're in, it's pretty lame. Like, it's not really explored as well, because it's supposed to be like medieval fantasy fairy tale but in real life, right? But to me, like, the part that I enjoyed most, besides I guess like a scene that we can get into later maybe, is the beginning when they're introducing the fairy tale world, wizards fighting dragons. I'm like, this movie could have been so much better if it was about this, personally, because I feel like all the fairy tale things in the real world were not explored too much, like not well enough, I think.
Yeah. And
it just felt very bland and just kind of by the numbers and not memorable in any way. Also, I love Chris Pratt with all my heart, but Jack Black should have been the brother, I thought. Like, I thought that was completely miscast.
Huh.
It was clear that he was trying to channel Jack Black in that role. I was just like, this is not working.
Yeah, that's a solid comparison. It's very Poe.
And then Tom Holland, I didn't even know that it was him for half of the movie. I was like, that's Tom Holland? Like,
I didn't even know that until you said it right now.
Are you serious?
You didn't know that was Tom Holland?
No. I didn't.
Oh, yeah. That's
like,
funny.
One thing that I noticed about the Pixar films, at least for the majority, they never use like famous stars or celebrities to the people to come and see the movie. They choose people that fit perfectly for the voices of the characters. You know what I mean? Like, does anybody know who Craig T. Nelson is or Holly Hunter? Like, do kids really know who they are? But they voice the parents in The Incredibles, and they're perfect for their characters. The only time...
And Holly Hunter's an amazing actress in everything she does.
Yeah, they're both great.
Yeah.
It's not like it's...
She's not Elastigirl to sell tickets. She's Elastigirl because she's a great Elastigirl.
No, but like, there's like Illumination or Blue Sky where they're like, we have Drake voicing a character, or we have Zac Efron. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Justin
true.
Bieber. You know, all these famous people to lure in the kids. And Pixar, for the most part, doesn't do that. The only time they really did was for their first movie. Was Tom Hanks and Tim Allen. But that was...
And even they were perfectly cast.
Yeah, exactly. Even it worked perfectly then because you hear their voices and you think immediately of the characters. And obviously that was the first Pixar movie. It needed some sort of star power to allure in people. After that, it was like, okay, well, now let's focus more on what matters is the story and these characters and the pacing of it. And but I don't know. They've just, it just hasn't been the same, and it's pretty prevalent in this movie, obviously. With like
We have Chris Pratt and Spider-Man and Star-Lord in the Pixar film.
and that's like they don't even fit the character well, and I don't know. It's yeah. Sorry. What else did you guys think of the movie?
Well, I agree with you on the acting portion for sure. I do like Chris Pratt a lot as a voice actor. I think he's really talented, especially in the Lego movies.
Oh yeah.
And but in Onward, he's definitely just playing Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Like he's playing Jack Black. He's just playing that archetype. And I thought he did a good job. It was solid. But there could have been more to it. I agree with you on that. And I feel like looking at Jack Black's performance as Poe, it's similar where he's playing that same archetype, but there's a lot more emotion and depth to it. So I actually agree with you on that. I think that's a pretty good point, that Jack Black could have been a good... And, you know, maybe he was a first choice. I have no idea.
I don't know.
But I thought Chris Pratt was fine. He did pretty good. Tom Holland is a great actor, but I've seen him... He's voice acted a few times now, and I really think he's still figuring out how to do that. He's a new actor. You know, he's very young, and voice acting's hard. A lot of actors who do a lot of live action think, oh yeah, I'll take this voice role and it'll be the same as acting, and it's not. And I feel like Tom Holland is a good example of somebody who knows how to act live action, but is still struggling to really find their acting skills in voice work. Because he also voice acted in Dolittle and Spies in Disguise, and in his defense, those scripts do not highlight what he's capable of.
Wow,
but
Dolittle.
yeah, I just don't think he's that great of a voice actor at this point. I feel like he can do a lot better than what he's doing in these movies. Because his performance as Spider-Man has a lot of nuances to it and a lot of emotion in it. And I feel like when he's voice acting, but I feel like when he's voice acting, he's getting into this mindset of like, this is a kid's movie and it's very exaggerated and kind of silly. And so his whole thing is like, hey brother, it's me. Hey mom, oh I'm sad. Oh, unicorns. I hate unicorns. Like, it's just so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I agree. And I just feel like the character that he played is such a typical kids movie character too.
Yeah, and I don't know, his whole motivation for wanting to know the dad that he never met, and spoilers by the way for the movie if you even care.
Yeah, there's gonna be spoilers.
That's in the trailer, but
don't see it, but if you have already, okay, cool. But the whole thing, you kind of find out that the older brother never said goodbye to the dad, and you know, he saw him in bed, he got scared, and he never said goodbye. And then Tom Holland's character, again, I don't remember the characters' names, but Tom Holland's character...
I think it was Ian for Tom Holland.
And maybe.
I think it was Ian and Barley.
Oh,
I remember it was Barley. It was Barley, that's right. But he had never met him, and he wanted so desperately to meet this guy that he had no association with or anything, and it's like, don't you think the roles should have been switched? Because friggin' Barley, whatever his name is, that was the last thing he had with his dad. And to have him, I don't know, like, it didn't feel natural. It didn't make really much sense. And I just didn't care at all for a character wanting to know someone who he doesn't know or he never met.
Yeah,
I don't know how that feels.
Especially when that character doesn't have a face or a personality because of his legs.
Like, I get that the whole thing is supposed to be, it's a brother movie in the end. That's what I was meaning, like, at the end. It's like, oh, okay, so it's supposed to be a whole brother relationship. Like, the brother took place of the dad, took care of him, and that's, in theory and concept, that's great. But, again, in execution, it was just like... But for the majority of the movie, I just didn't care. And I didn't... I don't know, it's not easy. I mean, it's not good when your central characters and the actual driving force is not so well realized and just so not special. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
I thought that ending... Oh, go ahead, Alex.
Oh, I was gonna say, I feel like that's why I don't like the ending, and I'm like, it was kind of like dissatisfying, like, because the whole movie he's so excited to see his dad, and like, I don't know, then randomly he realizes, oh, my brother's been there for me the whole time, and then he like doesn't care anymore.
Yeah,
he kind of just like sacrifices it. I'm like, I was just thinking the motivation just kind of dropped, and then it kind of transferred to the brother suddenly, and it wasn't satisfying to me because the whole movie I'm waiting for him to meet his dad, and then I'm like, oh, so now he doesn't care suddenly. He's just kind of like, oh, I don't need to meet him anymore.
I was gonna say pretty much the same thing. I liked that ending a lot in theory of him giving that meeting with the dad to Barley instead of taking it for himself. I thought that was a good way of completing his arc and giving the movie an ending that felt different and original. But in execution, like you said, it doesn't feel earned and it feels really dissatisfying. And I think a big part of the reason is because that reveal that Barley never got to meet his dad comes really late in the movie and really suddenly. There's no setup to it. There's no hints towards it earlier. And you don't really see that in the way Barley behaves or acts when learning about the dad earlier in the movie.
Exactly.
There's just one point where Barley goes, hey, Ian, I never told you this, but I never got to meet our dad because I was scared.
Yeah, it's forced drama.
It comes out of it's really shoehorned in.
It's really bad.
It's even shoehorned into a scene that really wasn't moving in that direction.
No, it was
the scene where they're on the Cheeto boat. Yeah. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. Like they're kind of in the middle of this wacky zany adventure, and they sit down, and then Chris Pratt goes, "I have to tell you something so that the ending of this movie can fulfill the plot and both of our character arcs." It's very shoehorned in.
The pieces are there definitely to make the movie good and satisfying, but it's just scrambled in different areas that it just feels like I was saying, the pacing and to the whole formula of the movie. It's not good.
Yeah. I think formula is a great word to describe this movie because my biggest problem with it was that it was the most formulaic script I've seen from Pixar yet.
Yeah.
And I struggle to think, even some of the bad Pixar movies, maybe Cars 2, but I'm struggling to think of another Pixar movie that has as by the numbers formulaic of a script as this one, because I feel like I've seen this movie multiple times before. It didn't have elves, it didn't have Tom Holland, it didn't have talking or walking pants, but it was the same movie in its skeleton.
And that's why I feel like this movie isn't really original, because I feel like you could get the same plot even if there wasn't any like creatures, you know what I mean? Like this plot could be seen in any way or form. Like they could be in space and you could figure out a way to execute it with getting the same message. So that's why I was kind of like, that's what annoyed me too.
That's
like
what I meant
Sebastian
with the
said.
world not being so realized or awesome or memorable. It's just like, well, there's nothing of the story of the world that really elevates the story.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, like, makes it feel like it needs to be in this world. It's like no,
yeah,
I can
elves.
see this taking place somewhere else and it doesn't matter.
Exactly. They could be normal people. They don't have to be elves. And I'd still get it.
I think at Pixar's best, they write stories that are made for the worlds and the characters they create. Like Toy Story or WALL-E, those movies and those plots work because they're toys or because they're robots.
Oh,
right?
yeah, definitely.
At their worst, they forget to do that. And I think it's mostly in the later stuff, but like Cars 2, I'll say again. In Cars 2, if you rewatch that movie, there is no point where they have to be cars. It could be a movie, and the same kind of goes for Cars 1, but they do some interesting world building. But as far as the story structure goes, I don't know about Cars 3 because I haven't seen it. Full disclosure. In those first two Cars movies, those movies could be live action movies about humans who race cars, and it would be the same. And in the second one, it could be a live action movie about humans who race cars, and then there's also spies, and it would be the same.
Totally.
And yeah, like you said, I think Onward is another good example of that. I think at their worst, Pixar forgets to write stories, or neglects to write stories that only can fit this character in this world. Another thing that I wanted to mention about Onward, and then we can move on if you guys are done with Onward.
No, there's more.
Okay, cool. But
I can trash talk it all day.
But Sebastian, like you were talking about the world building with Onward, part of the reason that I too was really excited going into this movie is because, confession, I'm a huge Dungeons and Dragons nerd. This is true. I was playing Dungeons and Dragons earlier today before we started this recording.
Oh my god.
You
heard it now, folks, on Amateur Cast episode 2. Kolby and Leafy's plays Dungeons and Dragons.
It's true. I love D&D. I love Lord of the Rings. I love fantasy crap. Orcs and goblins and elves and centaurs and mermaids. That is absolutely my jam. So that put in a new twist in a modern setting on top of Pixar, which is a studio I love, I thought this movie's made for me. Onward's going to be one of the best Pixar movies. I was really excited for it. The trailers came out and I was like, okay, this looks kind of basic, but I'm still excited. I still have good hopes because I love the idea. And in the first 10 minutes of the movie, I was like, cool, yeah, this is a really interesting setting. And granted, I thought the exposition was really, could have been handled a lot better, because it's literally opening narration that goes, in this world, it's like yours, but there's elves and magic, but not anymore. It was just a very
literally the exact
blatant
same
narrator. Yeah. But I liked the concept of the world. I liked the designs. I thought it was all clever. The Centaur Cop is funny. It was clever. It was clever ideas, but then the execution of it didn't need to have those clever ideas. It was just, there was nothing unique or distinct about it being fantasy.
No. No.
And yeah, it didn't feel like they fulfilled the great ideas that they started with in the world building. The world building felt really incomplete. And I was really disappointed by that because I think Pixar, again, at its best, with some of its earlier movies, its biggest strength is world building. WALL-E, which we'll talk about later in this episode, has some of the best world building I've ever seen in a movie and has really clever and subtle exposition. You don't watch WALL-E and go, totally. Oh, this is the exposition scene.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Again, we'll get to that.
There's not, there's not a bunch of opening narration, but, and I won't get too much into this because we'll talk about it later, but you get halfway through the movie and you realize, oh, I know everything about this world. It's Pixar can be really good at exposition, but in Onward, I don't think they were. I think they did a really bad job with it.
Was there anything you guys liked about the movie? Any positives? Anything at all?
I'm really trying to think.
The animation obviously is great. It's Pixar. They know how to animate movies well.
They had good animation.
Solid.
I thought Octavia Spencer was good as the Manticore. She was funny. I thought her performance was good.
Dang, really?
And the Manticore was a fun side character.
I absolutely hated that character with all my
heart.
Really?
Okay.
That scene at the when they were meeting the Manticore and she was trying to handle work and meeting them, talking to them. Hated that scene with all my heart. It was the worst scene in the movie. I hated it.
That's pretty dramatic, but
I'm sorry. I genuinely hated that character, and anytime she appeared in the movie.
I thought Julia Louis-Dreyfus was fine. I like her as an actress.
Yeah.
She did a good job in the movie. There's nothing memorable or distinct about her character, but that's not her fault. That's the script.
I liked the in concept, the dragon at the end being made of the school. I thought that was kind of fun design.
Yeah, that was cool.
Especially when
that was clever.
The face comes on, it's like a happy dragon face. I thought that was funny.
The scene I liked was when the Centaur Cop, when they were they put the spell so they were the Centaur Cop, and then when he lied, a different body part would appear. It was funny at first,
and then when the whole drama thing came in, it's like, oh god. You think I'm a failure. You think I'm
that little scene
that felt forced as well. When he was like, "Oh, you really think I'm a screw up?" I was like, "I don't."
Yeah, I'm like,
I
don't care.
You think I'm a screw up?
Yeah. I'm like, we all know you are.
Yeah, it's literally in the opening narration that you are a screw up.
What did that have to do with the rest of the plot? I don't know.
It kind of did, but it's just not earned or You just didn't care. You weren't invested in any of the drama. It's just so forced in.
One thing about this movie I can say that's very positive is my favorite character in the movie. And that favorite character is the van.
Guinevere.
One thing that I thought was cool about this movie was that they really did a good job in the script, and this is one of the only compliments I'm going to give this script. They did a good job making the van feel like a character. That sounds weird. That sounds kind of dumb. Yeah. But the van is like a major part of the movie. It has a lot of use in the plot. A lot of things happen to it or around it that affect the plot and affect the characters. Yeah. And Chris Pratt's character's bond with the van is really well established. So when the van dies, quote unquote,
Guinevere,
I felt emotional about that scene. That was one of the only scenes where I felt invested. I didn't feel invested in the characters, who are living, breathing people, but I felt invested in this car.
But the thing about that is, he didn't even... The character, what's his name? Barley? It's like he wasn't even that upset about the car.
That's true. After the van dies,
That's why I was like, why am I more sad about
whatsoever.
it?
That's true.
I do agree, though. It reminded me of me with my Jeep. So and
flex.
A lot of moments reminded me of like another positive thing is just how I interact with my brothers. Like how I pick them up from school, I'm always yelling at them from the car. Not like screaming at them, but like I have my music blasted and everything. I mean, I know that's kind of like the archetype for brothers in movies, but it's been a while since we've seen any sort of brother thing in a movie. So, or at least an animated movie like Disney or something. So that was cute.
Sure.
Brother Bear.
Brother Bear.
Brother Bear.
Oh God.
Probably my favorite scene in the movie is when they're trying to cross the cliff when the bridge is up. That was like the only scene that I had felt any sort of tension.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, like
yeah.
It was a total Indiana Jones reference, which I thought was fun.
I agree.
I was going to say, I agree. It was one of the only scenes with good tension, but it was also totally ripped off from The Last Crusade.
Yeah.
And maybe it was more like an homage, but to me it just felt like a ripoff because it was just...
I don't know.
It felt like they got to this point in the script where they went, oh, well, we need an extra scene here. And then they went, what if we just did that one from The Last Crusade? Because it was like the same scene.
Yeah, I guess. But I don't know. That was the only scene I thought was fun.
It's true. It wasn't necessary.
Yeah. But it was a fun scene.
Like when the rope was breaking, I was actually like, oh crap, he might fall. That was the only time I actually kind of reacted or my eyebrows went up during the movie. Other times just like, oh god, whatever.
Well, now that we have publicly sent Onward to the gallows and hanged it in the street, bashing it for all the world to listen, now we can move on to some really fun, happy talk about great Pixar movies. Yay!
Yes.
Wait, what would you guys give the movie out of 10 though?
6 out of 10.
I'd give it a 5 or a 6.
Oh wow, that's high. I'd give it a 4 out of 10.
I say a passing grade because it had it had story structure. It had characters with completed arcs. Like it had the components of a good movie. It just didn't have anything special to distinguish it. Like I would give it a C, as if I was a teacher grading an essay and the essay followed all the rules, but I didn't enjoy reading it. That's how I felt about Onward.
Yeah, it's a below average Pixar
If you
film.
wrote this in your screenwriting class to demonstrate to the teacher that you understood the lesson on story structure, it would be a passing grade. But like, it's not fun to watch. There's nothing about it that stood out to me. And as far as Pixar goes, it's a pretty... Pixar's a high bar, you know what I mean? Pixar makes great movies, so for Pixar standards, it felt bad.
They used to, yeah.
Yeah, they used to.
Personally, like the last great one was Coco.
I agree. I agree. Now that we have talked about Onward, let us talk about our favorite Pixar movies. So, Sebastian, why don't you go first?
Very well. Okay. I love a lot of Pixar movies. Especially a lot of the early Pixar films. But if I am to say my favorite, or at least the one I consider to be of the high quality, and Kolby and I share it too, it's Ratatouille, directed by Brad Bird. And if you haven't seen Ratatouille, spoiler talk, and also, what are you doing? Watch it. It's great. It's fantastic. It's about a rat named Remy who dreams of becoming a chef, and not only does he dream of it, he's really good at it. He looks up to the best chef in France, Gusteau, who is a very inspiring man, a very fat man who inspires everyone that anyone can cook, right? And after a series of events, Remy ends up in Paris, France, and the restaurant, and is met up with a funny-looking, funny-sounding man named Linguini, who works at the restaurant. After Linguini kind of messes up some soup, Remy fixes the soup behind his back, but then they meet, and before Linguini goes off to kill him, they decide to make a bond and have him cook because everyone thinks Linguini cooked the soup. And it sounds ridiculous, but it completely works, and it's great. And it's about art, it's about passion, it's about not allowing where you are, where you started, to define where you're going. And just, it's my favorite, and I think it's the best Pixar film. What do you guys have to say about Ratatouille?
God, I love Ratatouille so much. Ratatouille's amazing. It's
so good.
Ratatouille makes me so happy every time I watch it. It's one of my go-to like feel-good movies. Mm-hmm. There have been times where for no reason at all, I'll just think to myself, I've got to watch Ratatouille again, like today. Like I'll just wake up and I'll be like, I got to watch that movie again. I've seen it so many times now.
Yeah.
But it really is fantastic, and it really does have a very unique quality to it. It feels very distinguished from other Pixar movies and other animated movies. And there's a lot that Ratatouille does that I've never seen another movie do quite the same.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, younger, I still loved the movie. Like, I still enjoyed it. It was Pixar. Younger, I leaned towards more, I don't know, the Toy Story movies. And don't get me wrong, those are like my second favorite Pixar films, especially the second film. But as an almost, technically I'm an adult, I guess. I'm over 18, but being my age, I guess, with all the nuances and all the themes of, again, passion, art, what it means to create, what it means to critique, making new things, discovering new things in life and art, and what that means to others. And just those themes are so mature for a kid's movie, and I love it. And I love the music, obviously, by Michael Giacchino, right? Is that how you say his name?
Mm-hmm. Yes, one of my favorite composers.
Yeah. Although I think his score for Up is better, but
is the best. Yeah,
that's like the best.
It's iconic.
Like Married Life, that's the single best music
best.
from any Pixar movie ever, in my opinion, honestly. But it's a I love at the end, especially when the critic on Anton Ego, right? Yeah.
Yes.
When he's critiquing or putting the review of the ratatouille meal that he had. Like, I love the words that he says at the end. That totally makes you like kind of realize what the whole movie is about and what it was going for. Like, I think there's a line that he says, I even put it like on my Letterboxd review, that not everyone can be a great artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere. And it's like, as a kid,
I love that.
As a kid, I always thought the theme was, oh yeah, anyone could cook if they put their mind to it. But
Sure.
Growing up, it's like, oh no, it's like anyone from anywhere can make a difference. Anyone anywhere can do what they can do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You shouldn't just be subject to being in Paris to be a great chef, being only in LA to make a movie. You can be in the worst places ever. Heck, you can be a rat, as the movie says, to be a cook. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can be from the sewers.
Exactly, literally from the sewers.
Metaphorically.
And,
yeah.
And I also, it's kind of sad though, because the movie is also about the power of making new things and what that can do and being original and not following the book, which is what Pixar and Disney has been doing for the past couple of years.
Oh man, burn!
So it's like, this does not hold up for Disney.
Ratatouille. I have to say, I think that's one of my favorite Pixar endings. I think that's the best ending, like the last scene.
When what do you mean, like when he's saying the critique, or when he's
Yeah, when they're reading the critique and then it shows what happened to the restaurant, and
yeah,
it's just a really good way to wrap it up.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously the animation is fantastic.
Holds up really well to this day.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love how people get drunk in the movie. What's his name?
Linguini.
What's his name? Linguini and that
And the little short chef.
That chef.
I don't remember his name.
Yeah.
Little short man.
I forgot his name. The evil chef. But they get drunk. I had no idea that they, as a kid, you know what I mean? Like
sure.
Just like things that I didn't notice
when
I was little. You know what I mean? Like it still works for when you're a kid, and then I think it works more when you're older, which I love.
All three of the movies we're talking about today touch on some really adult themes that Pixar hasn't made movies that adult in a couple years now.
Yeah, I miss it. I'm like, whoa, this is great.
Exactly. Ratatouille talks about like poverty and discrimination, and yeah, it's through rats.
That too.
But like Ratatouille,
in a pretty subtle way too. It's not like it's like
very subtle. It's not like shoving it in your face at all.
No, I don't think so.
But you talked about Paris and LA and how Ratatouille is all about how great artists can come from anywhere. One of my favorite things about Ratatouille that I'd love to see what you guys think about is the way it portrays Paris. Because I think you can go into this movie having no connection with Paris. Everybody knows Paris as like this sort of go-to like cool destination spot. Like it's a beautiful city. Everybody likes Paris.
The romantic city on earth or something, right?
But you can go into this movie having never been to Paris, having no connection with Paris. And that applies to me. I've never been to Paris. I don't know if you guys have. I've never been to France.
No,
I've never been to Europe. I have no connection with that city. But you watch this movie and you feel like you've been to Paris and you've fallen in love with it and you can't wait to go back.
Oh, I agree. You can smell the food they're cooking. You can taste it when they're eating it. You just feel like you're in the streets, you're in the restaurant, you're there with the whole camaraderie of when they're cooking. Yeah, I agree. Like, I love those movies that make you actually feel like you're there.
Speaking of tasting, when you can, like, taste the food they're tasting, I really like the animation they do when Remy and... What's the brother's name?
Emil.
Yeah, when they're both eating the food. I really like the animation.
Oh, like the little like skinny things.
The colorful swirls 70s. And all that.
Yeah, I really like that.
That's one of my favorite scenes in all of animation. I mean, it visualizes taste in a way that feels right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, these artists...
Yeah, definitely.
Imagine being one of those animators and your executive producer or director or whoever just walks up to you and they're like, hey, so we need you to animate this scene where you visually represent taste and how good food tastes through art and colors. I wouldn't even know where to start with that.
No, exactly. Yeah. So,
but they do, and it feels right. You watch it and you're like, yeah, that was an accurate representation of what it's like when I eat my favorite food.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's why I really like it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's crazy. I love when Pixar does innovative animation like that.
Yeah, rewatching these movies, it's like, you're right, Kolby. I totally noticed how adult a lot of the themes were. Like Incredible. Oh, again, we'll get to Incredibles and WALL-E soon, but like in the span of all those three movies, like you said, they talk about poverty. They talk about, someone committing suicide and stopping it. The fact that the technology takes over. How
in
lazy
WALL-E?
We're gonna get all these
right.
in WALL-E.
We'll get to that in a minute. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but just all these crazy.
A lot of dark stuff.
But it still works for kids, which I think is great. It's not like it's too dark and scary for them not to see, but it's not too dumb for them, for the adults or the older people to not enjoy.
Yeah.
It teaches.
You know what I mean? That's when Pixar really flourishes, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it addresses kids not like they're idiots, but like they're ready to understand some really important themes that they need to learn, and these movies teach it to them.
Exactly.
In a way that's not dumbing them down. You know, it doesn't take these themes and dumb them down to their child audience.
Illumination Entertainment. I hate them. The Lorax.
The Lorax.
Respect the trees, but their ads are like Toyota or something, where they add pollution to the earth. Such hypocrites.
Yeah.
That's funny.
With Ratatouille, though, with what we were talking about with both the portrayal of Paris and with like great food and taste, I feel like it even though it has these amazing representations of these things, it doesn't depict them through rose-colored glasses. It still shows the negative aspects of them and the darker parts of them. It still shows the grimy and gross parts of Paris. You know, it's
like
still
rats.
It's like you said, rats, sewers, and it's like you said, Seb. It's not necessarily that anyone can cook, but it's that a great cook or a great artist can come from anywhere.
Yeah.
I feel like Ratatouille, even though it's this like silly movie about rats cooking soup, it's really brutally honest and and yet still very optimistic and uplifting, and I love that.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I
agree.
Yeah, and again, it works for both the kids and the adults, and it's like, I'm rewatching these is like, oh man, I miss when. Don't get me wrong, there's like several animated movies here and there that are pretty exceptional. Like for me, latest one that's not Pixar would probably be the Lego Movie, with great it's great for kids, but it's also there's these themes of consumerism, and politics and all that stuff. It's like, oh crap, we can get to that movie another time. Hopefully, I would love to talk about.
Or Spider-Verse is another recent good example.
Or Spider-Verse, exactly. Spider-Verse is another one that's really great. But I couldn't agree more. Ratatouille is fantastic. Do we have anything else to say about Ratatouille?
I think we covered it.
No? Okay, well, I'd give Ratatouille obviously a 10 out of 10. My favorite Pixar film, one of my favorite animated films, and one of my favorite films in general.
Me too.
I love
10 out of 10.
I concur. I also gave it a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Awesome.
So go watch it.
Wow, it's gonna be pretty hard to beat that for the rest of this episode, baby.
Oh my god. Probably the first 10 out of 10 we can all agree on. That's cool.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So far.
Cool. Record.
Okay. Well, now that we spoke about Ratatouille, which is arguably the best Pixar film, I'm sorry. We can talk about two other ones that are pretty good. I'm just playing. No, I love them too. Paps, why don't you present yours?
Okay, well, my personal favorite is The Incredibles. And if you haven't seen it, it's a really great film. So basically what it's about is it's about superheroes. That's the easiest way to say it, but it's about superheroes, these two superheroes who were really famous, but basically stuff goes down and superheroes get banned because there's a lot of stuff. You just have to watch it. But they get banned. So these two superheroes, they have fallen in love and they get married, and it shows them 15 years later. And now they're just a typical suburban family who have two kids, and they just live in the suburbs, and they're living their lives. They're doing normal jobs. And basically the dad's having a midlife crisis with superheroes. So basically the dad is feeling like he can't do anything right anymore, and he wishes it was like the old days where he can still be Mr. Incredible. So he gets presented with this random job opportunity, which he thinks, wow, like they need me to do it, but you find out later that spoilers. You find out later that it isn't what it seems, and basically... Yeah, spoilers for all these movies, guys. Come on.
You guys have seen them. It's Pixar. You guys grew up with these movies, or you took your kids to them. I don't know. You've seen them. It's fine.
You've seen these movies.
And if you haven't, what is wrong with you? Go watch them now. Well, finish this episode first, because we need views, and then go watch them.
Go watch them. So anyways... Basically, he gets a secret mission, which turns into trouble, And then his whole family, who all have superpowers as well, they kind of get forced into kind of saving him, but it's like a story about how it brought the family closer together, and yeah, pretty much. That's how it is. But
yeah.
What I really like about this movie is, I think my favorite part is the characters. Like, you really connect to all the characters because obviously they're really relatable, and all the things they go through are very relatable.
They feel like a genuine family.
Yeah, and no matter what age or like gender you are, you can relate to one of the characters in a certain way. And they're these superheroes that have these incredible superpowers, but it's funny to show that they're like real people and they do normal things. And
yeah.
yeah, I just really like that it just shows that no family's perfect, but family's super important, and issues in your family, they come up, but that's what makes family.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. What I love about The Incredibles is that they're superheroes, but they're relatable. It's in last episode we talked about when talking about Stand By Me, how that film can take these characters and this adventure and this idea, this situation that isn't relatable at all, but make us feel like we've been through the same. And Pixar is good at doing that in general with their crazy characters and worlds. I think especially in Incredibles, it makes us relate to the superheroes. And the Incredibles are a very normal family that go through very normal human issues.
Yeah,
Bob and what is Elastigirl's name?
Helen.
Thank you.
Parr.
Bob and Helen go through marital issues. They have arguments, and they're arguments that sound like arguments every mother and father or married couple have gone through. It does a really good job portraying them very realistically. Dash and Violet have these immature sibling arguments that are hilarious, but that are super relatable to anybody who grew up with siblings.
Tony Ridinger. All that stuff.
Yes. Bob hates his job at the office. He feels stuck at work. He feels like he's not fulfilling his potential. Helen feels unappreciated and overwhelmed as a stay-at-home mother.
Elastigirl is worried that she's probably cheating on her. You know what I mean? So
Violet feels invisible at school, which is represented by her ability to literally turn invisible.
What?
Yeah. Dash has all this unbridled energy he doesn't know what to do with because he hasn't properly been taught how to like contain his emotions, and that's represented through his literal ability to have super speed. Like it's
and Jack sets on fire, so that represents.
Yeah, because babies
built up anger of not being able to talk.
And they're demons.
The Incredibles is an anti-baby movie. That's the theme.
No. For those listening, I love babies. I'm kidding. I love kids. I really do.
Also, what I like about this movie is I think Syndrome is like the best villain of like most superhero movies I've seen. Obviously, this isn't like a superhero movie, but it is. But just his motive.
It's the best Fantastic Four movie ever.
Yeah, and in the end, it's like he's not even a villain. He's not trying to take over the city for himself. He's trying to become a hero. And that's why I think he's a really good villain in that way. And his motive is very clear throughout the whole movie. Like, you get it. You get why he's really upset. Because his idol has betrayed him.
Also, like, I love that it's not like he's just evil for Mr. Incredible. Like, obviously that's what made him turn to be bad. But I noticed it's not like he's just like, I'm going to get revenge on you and only you. It's just like, when he finally meets him, he just kind of thinks he kills him off really quickly. He's like, all right, cool. He's gone. Now let's continue on. It's kind of like when you break up with someone and you see them again and you're all like fit now and you have good hair and you have more, I don't know, you're just better. You're a better person, I guess, physically maybe. Maybe not inside, because like inside, you've been hurt and there's something that's kind of snapped. but you see them again and you're like, you just kind of, I guess, maybe make fun of them, or you kind of like make them feel bad about it. And so the whole thing about him is not just I will get you, Mr. Incredible. You know what I mean? It's not like that. It's just, okay, your rejection motivated me. And at some point he even says, and now I've outgrown you, which I love. I love that it's not just like a little don't get me wrong, I still love the classic like I don't know, Willem Dafoe, Green Goblin, Spider-Man.
Yes.
We'll meet again, Spider-Man, stuff like that. I love that. Don't get me wrong, but it's more than that. You know what I mean? It's not. It's
just like different and unique in that way.
Yeah, it's very unique in that way, and Alex, what you were saying about everybody, and Kolby also, you guys were saying about them feeling relatable. Totally. Oh yeah, like the how I love how natural the family dynamic is, and just like little character moments, like when they're in the freeway and they're like, okay, take the exit on this way. No, I thought it was on this way. That's gonna take me to the downtown. Yeah. It's like arguments you have in the car with your family on the freeway, or or when Elastigirl is vacuuming the hallway, and then she goes to Mr. Incredible's room and there's like a bunch of dirt there, and she's like, oh. And so she goes to vacuum. Like stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like little character things.
Exactly.
That I really love. And I also loved how natural the opening was, like when they're being interviewed.
I know.
There was something about it I noticed. I was like, oh, they feel like they're real people. It doesn't feel like scripted. Like I don't know. That's something I noticed and I genuinely enjoyed of that.
Yeah, it's kind of mockumentary.
Yeah, for sure.
If I am to say something bad about it, some of the animation does not hold up at all.
Like
I
which
think
parts?
So. Some of it looked. Oh god, like I can't. Okay, if there is a point that I can bring up is when it's in the beginning when Mr. Incredible gets the phone call from his wife, and Elastigirl is washing or bathing Jack in the sink. Like that's when I was like, oh, this looks bad. Like there was just moments where there are moments though, like the textures, I'm like, oh, that looks good. Like that looks genuinely pretty great for 2020. And other moments it's like, oh, that looks like Toy Story.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
It looks pretty bad.
And of course, it was revolutionary when it came out in 2004.
Yeah, definitely.
But, it's been 16 years. Oh, God, that's weird.
But also...
That's a long time.
Yeah, that is weird. But also, I can say something good about the animation. I really like the scene where the airplane blows up and they end up in the ocean. I think that scene is so, like, beautifully done, and, like, the waves and, like, how it falls on their hair. That animation was really good.
That scene's intense. Like, the action in this movie is tense.
That's, like, my worst fear.
It's actually, like, the music builds up, people are screaming at each other, people are shooting at each other, people are actually dying. It's like there's actual stakes, and you feel it.
And Mr. Incredible, when he's held captive, he thinks that his family died, and just that emotion is so crazy. Like, when he hears over the intercom, like, the plane has been shot down, and you can, like, see it. It's just, like, really dark in that way. But not, like, too dark for a kid. It's awesome. Just very... Yeah. It's not just, like, oh.
It's intense enough, yeah.
Yeah.
The Incredibles is a genuinely great action movie. And I don't know if there's another Pixar movie that, it's genre, probably not the first and foremost genre. I don't know if there's another Pixar movie that could be classified as an action genre movie. A lot of them have action in them, have moments of intensity or, like, fun, zany action. But this movie is, like, an action movie on par with other superhero movies. Like, it's a really, really great action movie for a kid to sort of introduce them to that genre. Yeah.
If I am to say something positive about the second one, though, the action is
it's fantastic. Yeah,
like the angles and the actual way they fight and their powers and everything, that was well done and fun.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the second one either.
That,
but visually, it might be my favorite Pixar movie. I really like the animation style. Visually? And the action choreography and all that stuff was really well done, even if the story wasn't really there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
No, but I wrote down Elastigirl is dummy thick.
Oh God.
It's your Letterboxd review.
Oh my
I'm cutting
God.
that out. There's no way.
No, leave it in.
Well, folks, you heard it here, folks.
You had
heard
it.
She knows
I'm having
it
a
too
stroke.
when she looks in the mirror and she's like looking.
Yeah. I was like, oh.
That's
I was like, I'm getting red.
Kolby's face. He's like,
No.
PSA to listeners, I wanted to cut this out, but you had to hear it. They're forcing me against my will to leave this in the edit. I'm sorry.
sorry, Mom.
And it's a fact. Elastigirl is thing.
And she knows it.
I mean, you're not wrong,
And she knows.
but I don't want to say it.
Admit it, Kolby. Admit it.
No! My mom
You
listens to
dreamed of
this.
She probably agrees. I'm just kidding. Love you, Mrs. Leapies.
Okay, guys. So, what would you rate The Incredibles?
10 out of 10 for sure.
10 out of 10 for me, too.
Yeah, definitely. 10 out of 10. I love the movie. Yeah, I love the movie. One of my favorites. A favorite when I was a kid, and it still holds up.
Me too.
Some of the animation doesn't, but it's still.
And I just love that now that we're older, we can still enjoy it because adults can enjoy it too.
Yeah, and to all those who were listening to us talking about Onward and saying,
It's a kids movie, guys. Come on, be nice.
yeah, it is a kids movie. It's a bad kids movie, okay? Pixar and a lot of great, at least the best ones, are able to not take the kids and say, you guys are kids, you guys are dumb, let's downgrade it and make it predictable for you guys to understand. No, the best kids movies treat the kids like they respect the kids and they tell a great story, but also accessible to them and for adults, and it's not Secret Life of Pets 2 or Sing or crap like that.
Pixar doesn't hold kids' movies to a lower standard, and neither should you.
Amen.
Exactly. But if you enjoyed Onward, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't agree with you, but that's fine.
If you enjoyed Onward and you're listening to this, we love you, and we're glad you enjoyed it, and we wish that we did too.
Yes.
We
Exactly.
really wish we did.
With that said, our opinions are right and you're wrong. And I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Onward sucks. No,
I thought you were
we
going to
have
say
one
another
more
word and you just said the word. You're like, it sucks, to be honest.
we have one more film to talk about.
We do.
That film, of course, is Monsters University.
No!
Kolby, talk about it. No,
Yeah,
oh my god.
So anyways, Monsters University is actually a misunderstood masterpiece because what it really is a meta commentary on this Communist Manifesto. I don't know. That was me trying to BS some positives for Monsters University. No,
Communism is fun.
my pick today was originally Ratatouille as well because I'm also a huge fan of Ratatouille. That's also one of my favorites, but I ended up going with WALL-E. I rewatched WALL-E, and man, I loved this movie as a kid. I've seen it probably a million times as a kid, but rewatching it totally blew me away. Totally exceeded my expectations. WALL-E is straight up a masterpiece.
It's true.
It's really good. WALL-E, for the plot, for those who somehow haven't seen it, WALL-E is about a sort of dystopian future where humans have, through sort of over corporation and over saturation of the economy and business, destroyed the ecosystem of the planet and have literally filled the entire planet with trash. So what they do is they say, okay, we'll get on this rocket ship, we'll get on this space shuttle that we've made, and we'll live on that for 5 years while all these robots that we program to stay behind while we're gone clean up the world so that in 5 years we can come back. But it doesn't actually take 5 years. It turns out the trash is a lot worse than they thought. And it also turns out humans are inherently lazy and really like their cushy, fancy, futuristic technology life on this spaceship. And so instead,
Big chungus.
they stay on the spaceship for 700 years, and that's when the story takes place. And so our protagonist is Wally. He's one of the robots who's left behind on the planet to clean up trash, and it seems like he's the only one left, or at least the only one left in this area that we find him. And he's really lonely. And one of the things that's amazing about this movie is it takes this character who is not human, who cannot speak like complete sentences or really complete words, who doesn't have a face other than 2 eyes, which are just like camera apertures on a stick. It takes this character who shouldn't be relatable, and you so deeply understand his loneliness through his body language and his mannerisms, and the very slight and subtle vocal performance of the actor who plays him. Ben Burt plays him. Ben Burt. You really understand his loneliness and you really feel for him. And then one day, Eve comes down, who is a robot sent from the spaceship to find life. And it's sort of implied that they send these Eve bots down like all the time, but with no expectation of them actually finding anything, because they never do. It's just protocol. But she actually does find life this time because Wally gives her a little plant that he's found because he thinks she's pretty and he falls in love with her. And they develop this really beautiful relationship until Eve is whisked away by the spaceship to return the plant, and Wally stows away on the spaceship to follow her. And sort of, in the end, spoilers, I guess, if you haven't seen Wally.
If you haven't seen Wally, why are you here?
Yeah. In the end, Wally ends up saving the day and pretty much saving humanity from itself, from its own self-made robot overlords, by stowing away on this ship, by tagging along, and just spreading his own, he's not doing anything intentionally, but he's just such a beautiful, hopeful, genuine, kind creature that him just being on the ship inspires people to take action and to live life to the fullest instead of being obsessed with their screens. And that ends up saving humanity because he inspires people like the characters John and then the captain, who's really greatly played by Jeff Garlin. But one of the big things I love about this movie is just Wally's positivity. The whole plot of this movie, and I never noticed this as a kid, works because Wally's just so perfect that he inspires others.
So cute.
There are scenes in this movie where he meets John and the captain, and he doesn't do anything. He doesn't, rally them with some inspiring speech because he can't talk. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just being himself. He's just being Wally. And they're so intrigued by him and, inspired by just the way he is. And they don't even realize it, but he just opens their eyes to life and to enjoying the beauty in life and to living life instead of sitting in a chair and looking at a screen and eating burgers. And those end up being the people that lead the remainders of humanity to go back to Earth and to take back the life that the robots they made took from them. It's really beautiful. What do you guys think of Wall-E?
I just love that, more than the first half of the movie, there's no dialogue. It's just Wall-E doing his thing. And
It's like a silent film.
Yeah, exactly. Like Seb was talking about last episode.
Yeah. Last episode, we talked a lot about Chaplin and how he told the whole story through body language, and Wall-E does the same thing. Wall-E is the modern Chaplin, but he's a robot, and he doesn't even have a face or body. He's a box with two camera apertures, and he uses body language to tell a story, and that's amazing.
Oh yeah, the music's all expressive and everything. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the first act of the movie, the storytelling is the strongest. Not that the second act is bad or anything. I feel like the first act is definitely stronger in terms of subtlety, being able to show and not tell. And you're able to immediately get the state of the world just by seeing everything, especially with the Hello Dolly song playing.
Yes.
Right in the beginning when it says, what does it say? It says, but on your Sunday clothes, there's lots of world out there. And when they're saying that, you're seeing the dusty clouds and you're seeing the buildings filled with trash. You're like, oh. You
it's
know what I mean?
eerie,
you kind of
but
feel scared.
It's very eerie and apocalyptic.
And it's realistic.
And I'm glad you brought that up because one of the things... Oh, sorry. finish what you're saying.
No, go ahead.
I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things I wrote down that I really wanted to talk about was the methods that this film uses to make you feel especially affected by the story, and like this world is your world in the future. And there's a few things I noticed.
Yeah.
One, the fact that this movie uses live action people, which I don't know if there's another Pixar movie that does that off the top of my head.
No, I don't think
but
so.
there are live action actors in this movie. There's like the former president played by Fred Willard, and then there's the people in the movies that Wally watches. There's a lot of live action faces in this movie. And they're sort of used to represent the past, because this movie's 700 years in the future. And what that makes you feel as the viewer is, okay, I'm living in the age of these live action people that I'm seeing, which means that 700 years from now, this happens in my reality. This is my world if I don't do something, right? To act and to live life and to like care for this planet that we live on. Another way it does that is real world references. And I think a lot of animated movies like Shrek, like Chicken Little, like lesser animated movies in my opinion, use a ton of pop culture references to be funny and to get easy laughs from the parents and the audience. Because they go, ha, I know that thing. In WALL-E, every time there's a pop culture reference, for a minute you go, I know that thing, when they play Hello Dolly, right? Or other things like that, or when they play the music from Space Odyssey, which I also want to talk about later. But
totally.
You laugh at it for a minute because you go, I know that thing, and then you realize what they're doing and like what that reference means. And it's another way of immersing you in the world, because this movie takes place in a world where the movie Hello Dolly exists from 700 years ago, which makes you go, well, that's my world. This is my reality. This is 700 years on my planet Earth that I live on. You know what I mean? And that's scary.
Yeah. It's like a relic.
The beginning of this movie is eerie and scary and sad and very apocalyptic. The music, the cinematography, the visuals of all this trash built up. Dude, it's spooky. The first 10 minutes of this movie don't feel like Disney. They feel scary.
No.
It is.
Like the trash buildings are bigger than the actual buildings.
Way bigger.
It's pretty crazy.
And the imagery of having huge towers of trash next to the man-made towers that are like supposed to be like these nice business towers, and the way that they kind of blend together and look the same, man, that's an image.
That's crazy.
That's
crazy.
That is saying the entire message of the movie in just an image.
Oh yeah, totally.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's so subtle and you just get it though.
Yeah.
I love it. And it's like a total like the message, take care of the earth, appreciate what you have. Like that, those are messages that have been done many times, and I can see it being done really badly. But when the movie ended, I genuinely was like, oh man, I need to take care of the earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was like, it actually hit me. Like, I need to respect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the sequence when he was, when the captain was looking at the computer, and he was like, define Earth, right? And all these beautiful pictures of Earth come out. And it's, for a second, I was like, I kind of missed that.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, but I have that. I'm not living in this world. Like, you get so immersed into the dystopian aspect of it that once any form of green or life comes out, you're like, oh, that looks great. That looks beautiful. It's pretty crazy how you're able to be you're able to be distracted from what your world is now.
And it makes you appreciate
and be able to be sucked into what's being told in the story.
It's an extremely immersive.
Like, so yeah, when the green came out, when the green little plant came out in the shoe, you do get like a pretty like oh look, like it's green, like it's life. You know what I mean? It's great. It's really
and that scene that you're talking about with the captain where he says define Earth, define sea, define sky, define dancing. That scene is startling because, I mean, at least when I saw that scene, it hit me really hard because there was this realization that he's not totally sure what Earth means, or sea, or dancing, or the sky, like,
or reading.
Like, he's probably heard those words because previous generations of this generation of space people have talked about it, grandpas and stuff. It's been 700 years. It's been a long time, but I'm sure stories have been passed down. But he was born on this spaceship. All these people were. He was born in a reality where he doesn't have to walk or interact with people because he can just sit in this chair and watch entertainment on this screen and have food delivered to him in seconds.
That's
Thank
his
God
reality.
we don't
That's
have
scary.
all of those done by one big scary mega corporation like B&L. Cough, cough, Amazon. But
My God, Jeff Bezos, if you're listening, boom.
Sponsored by Amazon.
yeah, this episode is sponsored by Amazon. Your dystopian overlords.
Thank you, Jeff
But
Bezos.
yeah,
for
that scene
nothing.
is startling because you realize that he doesn't know really what these things are. But then, when he gets so happy hearing about them, the scene where he goes, when he sees people dancing and he goes, "What's that?" And it says dancing and he goes, "What's dancing?" And he has this big smile on his face. I teared up. Like, that's beautiful. This guy who has no idea what like real human interaction is, what fun is, what really living is, he just sort of in the back of his mind recognizes it and resonates with it because it's in his blood as a human.
He longs for it.
Yeah, he longs for it. That
Yeah.
he doesn't even realize he longs for it, but he does, and it brings him such genuine joy. It's really beautiful, and Jeff Garland does such a great job in that scene and throughout the whole movie.
Speaking of the captain, when I was younger, I thought the line that he said, "I don't want to survive, I want to live," was funny.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, that's the same thing. He said the same
Yeah.
thing. 'Cause
Oh, he's dumb, huh?
Growing up, it's like, no, that's not the same thing.
Absolutely.
It's like what we're doing now. We're not living right
That's
now.
so
because of this
deep.
virus. We're surviving because of everything that's happening. We're being inside. Same thing with him. He doesn't want to survive from being out of the dangers. He wants to be able to live life. He wants to be able to grow and walk again,
Yeah.
dance, plant these seeds, eat grown food, all these things that we should be doing as humans. We need to live.
Yeah.
And that really hit me that time. It's like, oh, I remember I used to think that line was funny. Like, I remember in the theater, people laughed at that line because, oh, it's the same thing. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It's like, no,
Yeah.
it's not that.
He
Yeah,
knows
it's
very
great.
well what he's
You're
talking
so-
about.
I thought that was a.
You're so right. We can very much relate to this movie during this virus. But that's exactly the point. Like you said, we feel like we're not living right now. We're surviving. But that's what this movie's telling you. Things suck, and you're stuck in this terrible system or in this terrible situation that feels like you can't do anything about it. But he finds a way to do something about it. And in this virus right now,
yeah.
we're doing this
Yeah.
podcast because we want to live. Like, we're stuck at home.
Yeah.
But we want to find things that make
Wow.
us feel alive and feel special and feel human and have a human
We are
connection.
Wally.
We are the captain. But yeah, like, that's what this movie's about. Sometimes you're born into this crappy situation where you're stuck in this system, but you can do something about it. You don't have to just survive.
Yeah.
You always have the option to live.
Yeah.
Amen.
It's a really inspiring movie.
Wow.
It's awesome. It really is awesome. I love the way that things are set up in the beginning. Wally being able to fix himself. Wally, how is he? You know, people could question, well, how is he able to live all these years if all these robots have died? Oh, because he's solar powered.
Yeah.
How does he fix himself? Like what happens if he breaks? Oh, he can fix himself. He's able to put on his eye. He's able to fix his wheel, and obviously that comes back later when spoilers. If you haven't seen Wall-E, leave
Get out of here.
now. When Wall-E gets crushed and dies, probably the saddest thing I've ever seen.
I cried.
That you're like, oh yeah, like he can get
I
fixed.
cry.
That's why there's that great urgency to get back to Earth. Great, and again, that great. I was watching it with my family, right? I rewatched it like last night, I think, and the sequence when they're when they get thrown in the garbage and Eve is trying to find like the chip or something to put into Wall-E, and he's explaining to her, I can get fixed. We just need to get back to Earth. But you get it, because all he does, what does he do? He does like, he takes out his eye, puts it back in.
Yeah.
I know.
Remember that? Like the great stuff. It's all told visually. He's like, oh, Earth. And another thing I love, that how they're able to kind of communicate or express emotion through their eyes. You know what I mean? Like Eve is this total simple design. It's like it's an egg. Essentially, it's an egg with black and blue eyes. But so much of the noises that they make, and her eyes, his eyes, everything. It's great. Like the way they communicate with each other. It's so simple, but you get it.
Yeah, the
You know what
noises
I mean?
and everything.
And it's so cute.
Yeah.
It is genuinely cute. One scene I thought was like, oh, that was cute. Was when Wall-E takes Eve to his house, and he wants to show her the plants, and he's kind of looking at his things, and like a drum thing hits him in the head, and Eve kind of like chuckles at him. I thought that was like super cute.
It's cute because he's shy.
Really he's shy, and then she's all pretty.
And the way he puts his hands together and he clinks his little fingers, which now is like a meme, like in 2020, that's like a meme to put your fingers together and be like, I'm shy.
Yeah. You clink your fingers together.
It is like inherent body language. Like he clinks his little fingers together and we go, oh, he's nervous. And Wally's like anxious. Like Wally has anxiety. He's nervous in a lot of this movie, and it's portrayed really well.
How I relate
and it's
to
funny.
him.
You know, if you're a kid, it's funny, it's silly, yeah, but it's relatable, and like we get it. And by the end of the movie, he learns to like live life and be confident after teaching everyone else to. Oh God, I love it.
A robot.
Yeah.
A robot with no emotion
and no face.
It's great.
It's like
and
you
no
said,
face.
the character designs in this movie are frankly something I do not understand. I don't understand why, like, psychologically, or I don't know, I don't understand why my brain can look at this screen and see this orange and yellow box with 2 camera apertures and sticks for eyes and like wheels, and why my brain goes, that's Wally, that's his face, those are his eyes. I get it. That's a person and I love him, and I get his personality. I don't know why that works, but I know it does. And that is, oh my God, the artists, the designers on this movie
he's cute.
are genius. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so genius.
Great design.
And there's a million great robot designs in this movie like that. Like Eve and Wally
really
and all the other
too.
characters. Yes, the sound design's fantastic.
Like, each robot has like their own distinct sound and distinct motion and everything.
Yeah.
It felt real. Like the all the things.
I
The
know.
Mo with his with the little thing, and Eve, and she sounds pretty and everything, and Wally just sounds all
They all have a
cute.
personality.
It's yeah. But again, it's all simple, but you get it. You get it. It's great. Kolby, you wanted to talk about the 2001 reference? How Otto is a total reference to Hal?
So, rewatching Wall-E for the sake of this podcast is the first time I've watched it since having seen 2001 for the first time. Nice. Personally, 2001 is one of my favorite movies. I'm sure you guys have seen it. I hope we can talk about it in a future episode. I think 2001 is revolutionary. And if you haven't seen it, and I really mean this, I think it will change the way you watch movies forever. Personally, I've never watched a movie the same since the first time I saw 2001. I'm not going to say that Wall-E is on the same level as 2001. That's kind of ridiculous. But to be honest, it's closer than I thought rewatching it. It's closer to that level than I thought it was after rewatching it. It really is has a lot to say like 2001 does. And this movie uses 2001 in a way that I haven't seen a lot of other movies use previous existing movies. Like you said, Otto, the character in Wall-E, is pretty much a ripoff of the character Hal from 2001 in both design and function and character and personality and everything.
The eye and everything.
Even in story structure, in the way that he exists in the story, and
like
when
he kind of just
he appears and dies in the story is the same as in 2001. They use musical cues from 2001. There's scenes where they're floating in space, and they use that ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da from 2001. There's a scene where Jeff Garland's character, the captain, stands up on his feet for the first time in the movie. And we don't know that this is the first time that he's walked, or at least the first time in a long time. You could maybe take that guess because they live in this world with like floating chairs, but we don't know that for sure. But they use the song from 2001 that because of that movie we equate with evolution. Because of 2001 and because of its iconography, that song, the
I know it goes bum bum ba-da.
Thank you, that one. Yes.
Bum, 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 bum,
exactly.
Bum, 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 bum.
That song, because of 2001's iconography, we equate that with evolution, with first steps of humanity, right? Because of the way
or in that case with like the weapon, right?
Right. So when he stands up, that song is used as a cue to tell us he's not only evolving in the sense that he's never really walked and now he is, but he's evolving as a character. He's taking action for the first time in his life. He's literally and figuratively standing up, stepping forward, and grabbing control of the thing that's been controlling him. Otto.
Oh yeah, totally.
I've never seen like a little piece of music do that in a movie like since 2001. Like that's amazing. Yeah, 2001's used a lot in this movie. And I think both have some really heavy messages about humans and about how they cause their own downfall through their innovation and through their ambition. And that's a really hard message to depict. And I think in the hands of a lesser director, you'd get a terrible movie. But in the hands of Kubrick, it made the greatest movie, one of the greatest movies of all time. If not the greatest movie ever made. Honestly, it might be the greatest movie ever made. And in the hands of Andrew Stanton, the director of WALL-E, he does a really great job with it as well. Yeah, just the way that this movie uses 2001
and it works for kids.
It totally works for kids.
Crazy.
I mean, I've seen this movie and loved it 12 times before I saw 2001. But it just had this extra level of appreciation for me once I had seen Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
Because it uses it as a reference guide for people. Because the writers and directors of WALL-E understood that 2001 is part of the cultural zeitgeist. And they used it as a tool to help you, the audience member, understand their new story, their new take on it. Which is a much more optimistic take than Kubrick's.
Is there anything else to say about WALL-E? Do we guys have anything else to mention?
I really like the fire extinguisher scene.
Yeah, it's a cute scene.
Yeah,
love it. Visually.
Beautiful scene.
I was gonna bring that up too. I think that the dancing in space sequence where Wally's using the fire extinguisher and Eve is flying alongside him is one of my favorite scenes, maybe in any movie. I think it's really genuinely beautiful. Like it made me very emotional.
Yeah, it's very cute. It's cute. The music's great, swells, and the look of it with the rockets and the fire and the. Yeah, it's wonderful. Because
WALL-E, at its core, is a romance movie, and it's a love story, and that's one of the greatest romance love story scenes ever, in my opinion.
Yeah. Where the love is too great that no words are shared. It's just the music and the visuals and their dance. Yeah, and it's great. I love it. Yeah, it's wonderful.
One more thing that I'll bring up before we conclude is something that I noticed for the first time when rewatching it yesterday. In preparation for this recording, which is that really early on in the movie, when Wally and Eve are first meeting, they really cleverly contrast them in a very specific way, where you learn to associate Wally with construction and with building. He takes trash, he takes things that have been discarded and ruined and destroyed, and he makes them into blocks and he builds towers. He takes these little trinkets and things that have been considered trash, and he builds a home for himself. He puts them on shelves, and he builds a home and a life for himself with these little things. When Eve comes, the first thing you see her do is blow things up. She has a gun for an arm, and she starts blowing things up, and she blows up things that Wally likes. She blows up some of his towers. She destroys some of his little trinkets, or at least attempts to. You really early on learn to contrast the two of them by he represents construction, she represents destruction. Yeah. And immediately you recognize the irony that, well, she's sent here to find life, and he's sent here as to justify the death of the earth.
Yeah, just like a remnant of what life used to be.
Yet he values building and new life while she values destruction and death. And obviously that switches throughout the movie. They both learn and grow. And eventually, like I said, because of Wally's just inherent goodness, he inspires others to be more like him.
It's just like a sort of little visual thing that shows how careless they are in the future. You know what I mean? Because you were saying, you get the impression that they just kind of send these for protocol, like these Eve bots, not wanting or knowing that any life... If anything, it makes you think... Are they destructive for a reason? Do they want to stay on this earth? Exactly. On this ship forever. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I feel like they've made them destructive not just for protection, but what if maybe, to actually keep the earth that way? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's that's a good point that you brought up. I never thought of it that way.
There's a certain kind of movie, and there's very few of them that work. Very few, because this is a really hard kind of movie to write. But it's the kind of movie where your main character is the foil character. Your main character is sort of this flawless, perfect idea, And the arcs in the movie, the character arcs and the growth, come from the supporting characters that they serve to inspire. Right? Mm-hmm. That breaks the main rule of screenwriting, which is your character has a central flaw, and then the supporting characters, who are often foil characters, help them overcome it.
Yeah.
But there are very few movies that are really hard to do right, but they do it right, where the main character is sort of this perfect allegorical idea, and then they help other characters achieve their arcs. I think the first movie that made me realize this was Ferris Bueller, because in that movie, Ferris is flawless. He's like a perfect human being. Everything goes right for him. He does nothing wrong. The only real arc in Ferris Bueller is Cameron's, who's not the main character. He's the supporting character. But the whole structure of Ferris Bueller is based on Cameron's arc, not Ferris's. And after I watched Ferris Bueller, or I guess rewatched Ferris Bueller and realized that, I started looking for it in other movies, and I've found very few that do it right. But I think other good examples of it are like Knives Out with Marta.
Oh, true.
And I think WALL-E is one of the best examples of it I've seen, where he just represents this inherent idea of hope and life, and he inspires others to be the same.
Yeah, I see that. Very true.
Yeah, so that was a lot of heavy conversation about robots. Obviously,
robots, superheroes, and rats.
Yeah.
Wait, so what would you guys give this movie? What rating?
10 out of 10 for me.
Oh, 10. 10, definitely.
10 too? I agree.
3 10s in one episode. I don't know if that's going to happen again, you guys. It might be a while before that happens again.
It could be. Well, maybe unless for like next episode with Oh, you mean like 3 10s in a row?
Yeah, I mean in this episode all 3 of our movies were 10, where we all 3 of us agreed, yeah. Ironically, it came right after we trashed Onward. But
I know.
Totally destroyed it.
Sorry, Tom Holland. You're cool. I like you. You're a good actor. Anyways.
Just don't do that again. that wasn't good. Yeah. Oh, well.
So, what have you guys been watching recently? Besides these movies that we had to watch.
Gosh. What have I been watching? I watched like this one documentary on Netflix called Evil Genius. Have you heard of it?
Oh yeah. I haven't seen it, but I've heard a lot about it.
There's nothing special or interesting about the presentation of it. It's more of obviously the actual crime and the story and the investigation of it that's more interesting. It's not like Tiger King or something like that, you know what I mean? Where don't get me wrong, the people in this show are pretty filthy, but Tiger King actually wanted to take a shower after the whole thing. You know what I mean? There's just terrible scumbag people, but it's more like universal and different than what we've seen, whereas like Evil Genius is like another investigation of the murder, but it's still interesting. So I've again, it's not like anything revolutionary that I haven't seen before, but it kept me interested for a couple of hours. So that I saw that.
Yeah, I've heard it's really creepy.
Yeah, the lady that the show is based on looks like Satan from the Passion of the Christ. So
that's so funny.
So yeah, horrifying. Yeah, I'd give it like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. That documentary thing, it's pretty good.
I've been in the middle of watching Euphoria for the first time.
Oh,
I've heard HBO. That's great. I really
voice crack. That's staying in.
Oh no.
That's staying in.
Dang it.
But Euphoria is so good, but it's so intense. It's like
A24, right?
Yeah, I think, right?
Is it A24? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh,
I think so.
Cool.
A24 posts about it several times.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just very, very intense. It's like, you thought 13 Reasons Why dealt with stuff. Oh, this is like...
13 Reasons Why was a terrible show.
Okay, but that was known for, like, viewer discretion advised, you know? Like, we're going to deal with some hard stuff. No,
so
Euphoria is dark. But it's very visually beautiful, which I obviously love. That's, like, my thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. I think I have like 3 more episodes left. It's so interesting. But yeah, it's...
How many seasons are there?
Right now there's only 1, but they just signed for a 2nd season, so.
It's on HBO, right?
Yeah.
Alright, I've been meaning to see it. That one and Succession. I've been meaning to see Succession. I don't know if you guys heard of that. Looks pretty good. Kolby, what have you been seeing anything?
Yeah, the last movie I watched was Emma. I watched it with my girlfriend. I was pretty excited to just watch any new release that I could because it got released on VOD when everything got closed down during its theatrical run. It's the adaptation of the Jane Austen novel.
Oh, yeah.
And now Sebastian groans because he hates Jane Austen. And frankly, I'm not really a fan of Jane Austen either. I've never connected with a Jane Austen story or characters.
Pride and Prejudice is boring.
Agreed. And that's exactly how I felt about this movie. I didn't connect with the story or the characters. But what I will say about this movie is other than that aspect of just engaging with the stories and the ideas, I thought it was really well done. The production design is freaking fantastic. I think that's the big thing that this movie has to boast most is the production design, the costume design, and the like makeup and hairstyling. And if it came out after November, it would win those Oscars, but the Oscars don't ever give awards to movies that come out before summer. But we'll see this year because there won't be enough movies for the Oscars, so we'll see.
I'm excited for that.
But yeah, the costumes
wins
and the sets and the... Oh, God.
Hope not.
But yeah, the costumes and sets and makeup and hairstyling are really freaking fantastic. Some of the best I've seen in a long time. The performances were also...
They usually do give it to, though...
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
They usually do give it to the movies that have, like, the costumes and the big sets and everything. Like, the period pieces.
Because it's such a costumey movie.
I mean, not that the movies are bad or like the costumes are bad. They're good.
Sure.
But it's pretty cliche for the Academy to give. Like with Little Women, one costume design, it's like, yeah, I get it because of the dresses. Don't get me wrong, they were really good dresses, but it's like...
It's just because
I totally
a lot
agree.
of work, like, it's elaborate, yeah.
I totally agree, but that's actually what I liked a lot about Emma was it fits into that stereotype, into that that typical, like, oh, well, it's Victorian, it's like a period piece, so of course it's going to have, like, big dresses and sets. But they felt really original. Like, the dresses in this movie are, like, weird and kind of artsy and complex. And so is, like, the hairstyles and, like, the sets. Like, it wasn't necessarily accurate Victorian period. It was more, like,
avant-garde.
It was more heightened. It was very imaginative and creative and colorful. And I liked that about it.
Nice.
So, yeah, on those aspects. And also the cinematography and the direction are great. And the performances are really good too. Production quality wise and just visually, Emma was really great. Even if the story is a little hard to connect with, and even hard to understand at points, if you're not super familiar with like Jane Austen, which I'm not. But I would recommend Emma, to be honest. If you're listening to this and that sounds interesting to you, I would recommend it. It's on Amazon right now for $20, which sounds like a lot for rental. But if you watch it with multiple people, then you're saving money that you would have spent on movie tickets. So
oh yeah, totally.
I watched it with 4 people, got a good deal. But yeah, I recommend Emma. I'd give it like a 7 out of 10, maybe 6.
Cool.
Nice. Oh, I also saw Honey Boy.
Yay!
I saw your review.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I said in my review, it felt very much like you're watching someone at church. Like you're at church and you see someone giving their testimony, and while you may not connect with what they went through or really change your life after it, you feel good for the person who decided to change their life and who are speaking out and being different. So like, yeah, I wasn't changed or anything. It didn't make me cry or it didn't really like totally blew me away, but I felt so good and so proud for Shia that he's like, he kind of overcame this and like presented this pretty solid act of forgiveness towards his dad.
Yeah.
Like it might have been, I know for a fact it was very cathartic for him to play his dad.
I know.
And do the things that he did to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I totally agree.
But, yeah, solid movie. It did feel rushed at the end, and there are things about it I was like, that was dumb. But and there's nothing like totally exceptional about like the cinematography and directing. I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong; it looks nice, but it's not like anything I rewatch to study. But no, it's a solid movie. Shia best performance probably, and yeah, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. Solid movie.
Man, I got a dissent on that opinion. I thought the cinematography was so good.
Yeah.
I thought it had some of the best cinematography of the year. I thought it deserved at least a nomination. And I think Alma Harrell is a director to look out for. I think she really showed
I agree with that.
prowess in this movie.
I definitely agree with that.
I really like the lighting design. That's so random. But
ooh, that's specific but cool detail.
I noticed.
I love that when you watch a movie and you notice a really specific, weird niche detail.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening to our second episode of Amateur Cast. Next time on our podcast, we're going to be talking about our favorite films of 2019. 4 months later. But yeah, we're going to bring our favorite ones to the table and we're going to talk about them. So follow me on all social media at Alex Papke and on YouTube as well. Go ahead, Kolby.
Yeah, you can follow me on YouTube as well at Kolby Leapies and on Letterboxd and at Twitter at Wannabe Filmmaker, and those links will all be in the description as they were in the last episode as well.
Yeah, you can follow me on YouTube, Abdel Entertainment or Sebastian Limon, or follow us on Amateur Cast on YouTube. Yeah, me, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all the links will be in the description for sure.
Yeah, go follow our Instagram.
All right, guys. Yes, please. We need followers. We need friends.
Let's see how many followers we can get.
Our moms follow us. So.
Oh yeah! After we posted the last episode, I was like, "Mom, did you like it?" She was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Did you like or subscribe to it?" She was like, "No, was I supposed to?" I was like, "Yes, please." Mom,
did you not
have to subscribe to my
said?
podcast.
Well, on that note, thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time.
Yes.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye-bye. Adios.